everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hello from Koa and I. We are at my favorite cafe at the moment. My husband's just doing a gym class and Koa and I are just hanging out here until he finishes, then we all have breakfast together. My husband and I have been traveling around Bali for about a month now. And let me just tell you that when you travel with someone, I'm not sure if you guys have done this yourself when you've traveled with a friend or something, you realize different things about each other or yourself, and conflict and things like that can just so easily arise when you're out of routine, out of the norm, and my husband and I are no exception. We have had a couple of conflicts, areas of disagreement, differences of opinion, and it really has taught me a lot about how to argue well, which I wanted to share with you guys. Some tips, some tricks. If you two are with a friend, partner, family member, whatever, conflicts will arise. Like, there's no getting around it, and conflicts are actually healthy. It's not a good sign when you're in a relationship with someone and there's no conflicts, because generally you're not the same person, you do have a different opinion. So conflicts aren't bad, but how to learn to communicate them, negotiate, how to express yourself clearly without bad intentions, all of those tools are so important so you can enjoy your holiday or enjoy whatever season of life you're in. My husband and I literally met, got engaged, got married, and fell pregnant all within a year of meeting each other. So it's been snappy, to say the least. So my husband and I are honestly still getting to know each other, and that means that conflicts will arise. Some of the things that we struggle with is on holidays. We holiday so differently. My husband by nature is so spontaneous. He's like, hey, I heard about this thing over there, let's go. Or I don't really like where we're staying, let's move. And I'm like, but we have a plan. We had a schedule, we've organized this. I'm like, I've got my to-do list, I've got my spreadsheet happening, I've got my Google Maps of like all the places we need to go and visit. So we just holiday very differently. But on top of that, Koa still being 8 months old is still pretty like dependent on me, which means that my husband has the freedom to go to a gym class, to do a sauna, do an ice bath, which is what he's doing at the moment, whilst Koa still sort of needs mama a lot of the time, still getting breastfed, and he really notices when I'm gone. So that means that I don't have as much freedom and flexibility as him. That's another area of conflict where I really struggle with the jealousy of how much he can go off and do whatever he wants whenever he wants, and I don't have as much of that freedom. And a lot of it is also just like the season of life I'm in. I'm really just telling myself it's not my season to go to the gym. It's not my season even for a clean t-shirt. Like, look at my t-shirt. Can we all see that? It's not my season for hot coffees as well. I've literally changed my order to like an iced latte because, you know, I'll get a hot coffee and then Koa will be grizzly, and by the time I get back to my coffee, it's cold. You know, it's just not my season. You know, if you're a mom, I think you get that. You just got to tell yourself it's not my season, rather than build up jealousy and things like that. It just does mean that conflicts can arise between my husband and I. And so this is what we do to deal with conflict, which I hope will help if you two are struggling with how to communicate your wants, your needs, how to listen. I hope these tips help you. First and foremost though, if you are married, I would highly recommend reading the book by John and Julie Gottman, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. My husband and I read that when we just got married, and it's so key, and a lot of my points are from them, but they are two literally love experts, relationship experts. They dedicated their life to studying what makes marriages and relationships successful and what doesn't, and they literally have a love hotel where they invite couples in, and they will Big Brother watch them and follow them over years and see what patterns and behaviors make a marriage last. And then in the end, they were able to, with 94% accuracy, determine whether a couple would stay together or whether they would break up within about 4 to 6 years or something like that. That's how good they were at working out what works and what doesn't, what builds a marriage and what breaks it down. So how to do conflict well. Tip number 1 is have a soft startup. Choose the right time, choose even the right place about when to bring up a conflict or an issue. Like, I'm someone that I just, as soon as I have an issue, I want to deal with it straight away. Like, let's talk about it, let's get it out, let's figure it out, let's solve it, and let's move on. But my husband's not like that. He's a lot more thoughtful and a lot more careful with his words, which I absolutely love. But it means I need to be then careful about when to bring up issues with him. I can't just do it in the heat of the moment. Now I'll often bring up some sort of issue with him later when we're both calm, when we're both relaxed, when we're both really in a good headspace and we both have the time to talk about an issue. And there are some times when my husband can see I'm not okay and he says, "What's up?" And I literally say, "You know, I'm not 100%, but let's talk about it later." You know, that's okay. You don't have to like deal with it straight away. So don't bring up an issue like as you're going to bed. Do not let the sun go down on your anger at all. And also, like, don't stray away from the problem. When you bring up the issue, have it well thought out, have your words thought out well, and don't stray away. Don't use that time to bring up this and that and this point, and oh, you also don't put your clothes away. Don't bring up all these other issues. Just know what the problem is, stick to the problem, and have a soft startup. Like, start the conversation in a nice, calm, healthy, balanced way. Point number 2 is so important. You need to remember that you're fighting against the problem, not each other. So that means no criticism, blaming, raised voice, contempt, or flooding. I can be someone that like floods. You have to really know yourself and what your automatic response is to arguing, and know that that's not always healthy. But I'm such like a flooder. Like, I'll be like blah 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 and this and this and this and this and this, and like I've just made this mountain and I just flood it all. And that can be just like so overwhelming and so unhelpful as well. So when you fight, you don't want to be having a raised voice. You don't want to come with criticism and complaining and blaming. You know, we're not fighting against each other. We're fighting against the problem. So it's like, we're a team. This is the problem. Like, let's look at this together and how are we going to solve this problem? Point number 3 is recognize how you approach fighting. Like I was saying earlier, it's so important to know yourself and your partner and how they respond to fighting. Just like we all have love languages, we have a fight language too. We have a way that we like to express our wants, our needs, our fears, our desires. And knowing how you communicate is so important, because it might not be the best way that your husband receives or your partner receives that information. So I'm personally like not afraid of conflict at all, which means I like to talk about things straight away. I like to get it done. Let's solve it. And like I said, I can often like flood someone with all my thoughts. I can also come across like way more aggressive than how I feel as well inside. I'm a very passionate, dramatic person. But knowing that is so important, because it means that for the other person, it can come across really like aggressive and full on, even though I might not be necessarily feeling that on the inside. So I need to know, okay, when I have a problem, let's think about it first. Let's process my thoughts and condense them. Recognize how you both approach fighting. We have different fight languages too. And how your husband best receives that, like how's best for them. Like, literally sit down with your partner when you're both good and be like, how is it best when I have a difference of opinion? Like, how best do you like approach that? Like, how best can I communicate my wants and my needs? What does it look like for you practically? So that's actually a really good conversation to have. This 4th tip I think is like literally key. It's like the magic ingredient from John and Julie Gottman's book. This is like how to ensure your marriage will last, is have repair attempts. They talk about repair attempts as when you're in the heat of the moment, you like offer a repair attempt. You offer like some physical touch or a joke or some sort of humor to lighten the mood. It's like you break the tension with something, that in the heat of the moment, you're able to stop and pause and recognize the love you have for each other and go, hey, this is just getting out of hand. We're being too dramatic about this. Let's put a pause on this and let's talk about this later. And then the last point is marriage and all relationships are really about negotiation. Try and sit down and work out a win-win solution for you both, where it might involve you both compromising. I think it's so important in relationships to not keep score, keep track of, I don't know, the faults of your partner, or how many times, you know, your partner won the argument and how he owes you now. Like, don't keep score or keep track. When the fight is done and the solution is done, don't go, oh, like, I think you won this one, so you owe me. Next time I should win type of thing. Really try and negotiate for a win-win. But once it's solved and it's done, don't harbor and hold on to any of that bitterness. Like, it's done, and move on and let go. And don't bring lingering feelings of past conversations ever back. Once they're done, they're done. Don't keep track or keep score. And just remember that the goal is not to be right. The goal is to be understood. Because at the end of the day, my husband and I are different people. We have different interests, different hobbies, sometimes different values. And it means that sometimes we're not going to convince each other that the other person is right. That's not the goal. The goal is to just try and understand. And if you can't understand, you just need to respect. So really silly example, but my husband loves music festivals, loves them. It's like the Brazilian in him that loves to dance, and I not at all have zero interest going to a music festival, but he loves it. And although I will never understand why, I have to respect. And you might never convince the other person that you're right and they're wrong. The whole goal is just to respect. Those are my 5 tips of how to argue well, how to fight well with your partner, with your loved ones, whoever it is. I hope these tips really do help you keep and hold on to relationships and connections, and have them so you can express your wants, your needs in a calm, clear way, so you can be understood and respected. So guys, I hope that helps and blesses you. Please comment below, say hello. I love reading all your messages. I read all of them. I reply to all of them. So please say hello, and I'll be seeing you guys in my next video. From Koa and I will say bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Koa. Bye-bye, Koa.